Hey guys, welcome to the Life on Purpose podcast. It's Ella and Ella from Grow with the Flow. Here we explore all things personal growth and self-discovery.
We hope to inspire you, empower you to explore your growth, and to remind you that you're never alone. So let's get right into it. Let's grow.
Hi guys, welcome back.
Hi everyone.
Welcome to our third episode. We're so excited that you're here. If you're a new listener, welcome. If this is your third episode with us, amazing. We're so happy you came back. So today we wanted to talk about our foundation, which is self-discovery. And the question for today is going to be, what is rediscovering yourself? Like, what does it mean? Why do we do it? And kind of a few ways that you can start implementing and going down this journey of self-discovery.
So the first thing that we wanted to cover what does rediscovering yourself mean? So just if you've never heard that before, if you've never heard of self-discovery, what does it even mean? Like, you're probably thinking, well, I know myself. I live with myself in my own head all day, every day. But the truth is that when we were born, we were a totally blank slate. We're born perfect as we are with none of these like worries and anxieties and feeling uninspired. We're born just like a blank slate. Then as the time goes by, we're conditioned and we model after our parents, our experiences in school with other kids, with other adults, through society. And that's when we kind of pick up all these other expectations of what you should be doing or who you should be, or
I think expectations is the perfect word.
Yeah, like you need to like things that everybody else likes. You need to go down the path of going to school and then going to college and then getting married. If that's one case scenario, your case could be different. So what we believe is that we all have an inner voice that we kind of
neglect
and veer away from over time. And so rediscovering ourselves is relearning who we are and re-listening to that voice that's there, that is speaking to us. And when we do that, it gets us closer to feeling a more happier and fulfilled life. So if you're feeling unmotivated or uninspired or like you're stuck in a rut, it really is because you're not listening to that voice. Maybe you're doing things that you feel like you should be doing, or you are listening to your parents, or you don't feel normal because you don't like the things that everybody else seems to like. So that at its core is really what rediscovering yourself means.
100%. And I think it's just like cracking open something that's already there and like peeling back the layers. So it's like if you put a jacket on every time somebody told you to do something a certain way, or every time you saw something and thought you were meant to do it a certain way, it's like we keep putting all these things on ourselves. And then eventually you get to a place where like you just don't know what's yours and what's like society around you or like the people you're around. And it's not to say anything's wrong or more right. It's just not what's actually like your true essence.
And your truth, totally.
So the reason we love exploring self-discovery, obviously we're obsessed with it, is that there's just so many benefits from actually taking the time to like re-explore who you are. And I know that can sound like a very loaded statement to make, and which is why we emphasize the fact that it's a journey. It's not a, 14-day plan that's going to get you 8-pack. It's really just taking the time each day and each season of your life and moving the needle forward and being like okay with it going back a bit and then going forward and then going back. It's really going to look different for everybody. We want to emphasize that from the beginning. But a lot of the benefits that we've personally seen and what has made us want to share this journey and this conversation with you all is how self-discovery has helped us both personally find more joy in our lives. And joy obviously stems from doing things that make you happy and listening to your inner voice. So we found more happiness through exploring our unique paths and our unique core and our essence. We've formed stronger relationships, whether that be relationships that were already in our lives or new relationships. We're able to see people in a much deeper, more connected manner because through your self-discovery, you're becoming more self-aware, you're learning more about yourself. And in return, you're meeting people at the level that you're meeting yourself. I'm sure you guys have seen that before, right? You can only meet someone as far as you've met yourself. We've both established a stronger sense of purpose. And I think that's like a big one for us because you're really cutting through so much noise in order to listen to that voice. And in order to listen to something, you need to turn everything off or lower the volume at least so that you can be focusing in on what it is that you need. Self-discovery has helped us align with things that we love. And by align, really just flow, things just flow as opposed to feeling so much resistance. So when we started to work on ourselves and explore, our inner voice and our self-discovery, things that we are passionate about, people, inspired environments, they all kind of seem to flow into your life more organically. The moment you start to make the space for things that you're interested in and actually start to let go or recognize what's draining your energy or what's really not serving you, you ultimately make room for things in your life to grow and to expand and ultimately live in better, like in your alignment, right? Because that's going to be different for everybody. So with that too, obviously we talk about energy givers and takers quite a bit. Self-discovery has helped us really, really, really hone in on our own personal energy givers and energy takers, which we talk about a lot. And we will probably do a whole episode on energy givers versus takers and what that can look like from person to person. But through exploring energy givers and takers in the self-discovery realm, really, really help you create a solid foundation. Because now you're not listening to, your friend across the hall's energy givers and what works for her or for him. You're honing in on what actually fuels you. So here's a perfect example. Again, we're always going to reference human design. Elle and I are both human design types, manifestor and projectors, that we love to do these social and very big, I guess, meetups and like social activities. But as much as we love doing that, we need to take just as much rest, if not more. Whereas we have friends or family members that can do a little more of the going before they need time to rest. So it's really what it comes down to is about honoring your voice, again, your energy and what works and doesn't work for you. And that's like the essence of self-discovery is like, it's going to be different for everybody. Like I think you said that earlier, it's not a one size fits all. It's not, even though that's one story, it doesn't have to be everyone's story. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really the beauty of self-discovery is there's so many options out there. And there's so many things that can help us better understand ourselves so that we can all ultimately live a much happier, more peaceful, and live with more flow and ease. And I think everyone wants that in their lives.
Yeah. And I think everyone's felt that feeling where you're like, did I miss something? Am I not understanding something? Or this person's doing this and they look so happy. Like, why don't I want to do it? Or when I do it, it just doesn't work. Like I remember I had a corporate job and I used to walk to work to like get my daily exercise or like my outdoor time. And it got to the point where like my legs felt like tree trunks. Like I was just like, I can't walk anymore. And I thought there was like medically something wrong with me, but it just shows because like I didn't want to go so badly. You know what I mean? So it's like, but I thought there was something wrong with me because everyone was like, your job is amazing. Like you've accomplished so much and all this stuff. And I would just be like, I would just try to tuck it away. Like you must not be having enough like supplements to like, or like, you know, like you're trying to think of all these different things when really it was manifesting in a physical way, like how much I was going against like who I am.
Your natural being.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's a lot of like, obviously we're all guilty of it. Like, doesn't matter who you are. We all compare ourselves to others at some point in our lives, whether we're conscious of it or unconscious of it. And I think that's where we get lost or we get like thrown off our path so quickly as we start, like you said, you look at other people and you're like, everyone's doing that. Like, why am I struggling to keep up? Or like, why am I so exhausted doing that? Like everyone else is fine. Especially like this culture that we live in now, it's very hustle and grind and this, but like hustle and grind looks so different to each person.
And like just, another example is like people that are very social. And if you don't know anything about human design, you can think of it as like introvert and extrovert. Like I always thought I was an extrovert, but I would just get so exhausted. Even if it was just a coffee with a friend and not like a nightclub all night, it would just like I wasn't honoring that I needed to be alone for most of the time. I think for me, it's like an 80-20 split. Yeah. Or like being at work all day with people and then hanging out. And but other people could do it and they were thriving and happy. And I was just like, there must be something wrong with me. I don't have enough energy. I was drinking like 5 coffees a day, wondering why
trying to keep up.
Yeah.
It's so true though. And it's like, I think that's why both of us really love self-discovery, is because we're just constantly learning new things through modalities that like we've studied and we've been introduced to, that we will introduce to you on this podcast. And we're so excited to, because a lot of it was, you know, it's self-discovery, but under the self-discovery, it was self-awareness. It was learning that like, oh my gosh, like that's part of who I am at my core. Like I've been going against it this whole time because I thought that that's what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah. And that's okay. That's okay if you're different. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And so once you start to lean into it and you feel good, you're like, well, this is so worth it.
This is so worth it. And like, everything just feels way more peaceful. I know I use the word peaceful a lot. That's my signature theme as a manifester, but who doesn't want peace?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what we're all looking for. So we covered, you know, what self-discovery and rediscovering yourself, what is it? Why we think it's so important to incorporate it into your life. So we'd love to share with you our 6 tips that have worked really well for us on how you can incorporate, maybe like start your journey, or things you can do literally starting like in this moment to start to crack open that shell and start like that journey.
Or even just start thinking about.
Exactly. Like literally just get your mind in that headspace. So our number 1 tip, and don't roll your eyes at this, is you just got to get out of your comfort zone. I know. And like, I feel like I'm talking to a past version of myself because I'm a creature of comfort. I like my routine. I like knowing, I like planning. I promise you when I say this, the moment you get out of your comfort zone, the universe will meet you halfway. Like you need to, and I'm not saying like go skydiving or do anything crazy. Like that's amazing if you're going to do that. I mean, Ella would probably jump out of a plane. You will never catch me jumping out of a plane. Like
it could just be one thing a day.
Yeah. Go, like, here's a perfect example. And Ella and I talk about this all the time, is like, especially when we first started really exploring our personal growth, we're like, where can we find more people outside of our friends that are having these conversations about things that we're interested in? So if one week we're into like birth charts, we're like, okay, where do we find those people? Like, get out of your comfort zone. Maybe find a Facebook group of people chatting about topics that you're into, or a class, or if if you can't make it to a physical space, where can you find them on the internet, right? There's so much out there. So even if it's something small, but something new to you, I don't want it to sound as scary as it sounds, because getting out of your comfort zone doesn't need to be like this crazy extravagant thing. It can just be like trying something something new.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Okay, number 2 is explore your passions and hobbies. So explore those things that you feel passionate about. What are the things that make you feel excited? What are the things that, when you think of this life that you would want to live, like your highest self, what is that person doing? For me, it's something like standing in front of a group and speaking. That scares the bejesus out of me. But for me, that's obviously something I would feel passionate about. And it's not like I would even identify that as a passion. So maybe like if you're like, well, I don't really feel like I have any passions or hobbies, maybe think of it as like, what's that thing that I would really like to be doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I love that. I think you always say this. What's that thing that you always Google? Like, what are you constantly learning more about? Like, what's open in your tabs that you're constantly like, what's like how to do this, how to do that? Like, follow those little breadcrumbs.
Yes. And like, is there something that you used to do as a kid that you spent hours doing that you lost days? Like, remember that thing that you used to do and you'd look outside and it was dark and you were like, where did the time go? What were you doing? Or like when you daydream, what are those kinds of things? So explore that, think about it. We're not saying go and do a stand-up comedy show tomorrow, but maybe like write them down, start thinking about them, start remembering them.
I always love talking about this one because Ella and I both share such similar stories of our upbringings. Like, we're both very performer and entertainer archetypes. Like, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this, or maybe it's just Ella and I, but either way, I think it's awesome. Of just making, like, constantly creating, whether that be like a song or a dance or a play or like a speech or like an inspirational talk to like our audience, which was our parents or like our siblings, and making them do it with us. And when we talk about this, we laugh so much because we both did that. And like, we only met recently. Like, we didn't grow up together. It's just so funny to see how both of our inner child enjoyed things like that. So when we came together as adults and like found that voice again, it like makes sense because we're on this side of it. It like all clicks. It's like that we both loved doing that as kids. And now as adults, we're getting to do this again. And it like makes the inner child in like both of us just so happy. And like so seen.
And that really is, when we're children, that's the most authentic that we are.
Oh my gosh.
It's not just like, oh, they're kids, that's just what they do. Look at 5 different kids sitting next to each other. They're all doing something different.
Yeah.
And that is so telling of who they are.
100%.
It always reminds me, for Mother's Day, I printed out the lyrics to Mama by Boyz II Men, and I was like, Mom. I made her sit down on the couch and I like performed it. I didn't sing it, but I like read it like a poem.
Like a reading.
I was like, this is gonna bring her to tears.
That's amazing.
But those are the kinds of like,
it was your intention.
Yeah.
You're like, this is gonna move her.
Yeah, like speaking.
Yeah. Wild. So our third tip would be, and I'm sure you guys have seen this, or maybe you do it already, is get a journal. Just start reflecting. Start just writing stuff. It doesn't have to have like, I think we get intimidated when we hear journaling because we're like, well, what do we even journal about? When I started journaling, I just wrote, it was so very Dear Diary. And it would just be like, this was my day. This is what happened. This person said hello to me. This person said whatever. I mean, and then now, like, my journaling practice is every morning. It's super simple. I write a couple things, like bullet notes of what I'm grateful for. And I know both Elle and I really enjoy future self journaling, which is like journaling, writing a journal entry today, but making the time in the future, whether that be like a year from now or 5 years from now, so that you can kind of like step into that and start embodying it, but play around with it. Like, journaling, it doesn't have to be everyone writing the exact same thing, putting the date in the top right corner, using a blue pen. Like, start somewhere. Just have a space or a journal that's dedicated to like your thoughts and your emotions and your experiences and what's currently going on in your mind. It doesn't have to be anything
Mhm.
more than that. And I think it's a beautiful place to start.
And you'll be so surprised what comes out.
Oh my gosh.
Because sometimes you think like, I already need to know what I'm going to write. But once you start writing, you'll be like, oh, that's what's been bothering me. Or like, write down, look up journal prompts. We love to get like the juices flowing maybe with a journal prompt, or even doing like what worked today and what didn't. And then you can kind of start identifying like, okay, this thing that I keep doing every day is making me feel not good. So then you can look back, like the last 5 days has been the same thing. You know, like these
100%.
kinds of little things.
100%. And that goes like hand in hand with energy givers, energy takers, self-aware. It's like all these little things that most of you are probably doing unconsciously. Is that the word I'm looking for? You're doing them and you know that they don't make you feel good. But sometimes just writing it down and seeing it in front of you, you're like you said, the past 5 days, you're like, okay, so obviously there's a pattern here.
Yeah. Okay. Number 4 is seek inspiration. So this is, Ella and I are obsessed with inspiration. It's like the fuel that keep like for your soul. I love to start my day sometimes with an inspirational talk. Ella has always been such a huge advocate of like editing the input in your life. So whether that's like your Instagram feed, what you're choosing to watch on TV, like are you staying up late at night and watching a murder mystery show with like
nothing against
music and then not sleep? You know what I mean? Like seek inspiring things that are uplifting you, things that are just making you feel so motivated. Like if I don't get up and get going right now, I'll implode, you know? Like inspiration, it can fall into your lap, but a lot of the time you have to seek it. You have to put yourself in situations that are inspiring. You have to be around people that inspire you. You have to look and see like, am I hanging around at this place where people are just kicking rocks, or am I around this place where people are talking about the things that they love and things that uplift them? So yeah, really, if you're not feeling inspired, if you're not feeling motivated, there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe you're just not putting yourself in situations or looking at things, like inputting things that are inspiring.
I love that word so much, input, because it's so true. It's like, I think everyone always asks that question, like, how do you stay inspired or how do you stay motivated? And it's like, I don't. I'm not always super inspired. I'm not always super motivated, but I know the things that get me going.
Yeah.
Like, I know the videos, I know the people, I know the settings, I know, this, I can segue back into like journaling. Like I'm learning the things that make me excited and the things that fuel my passions, and hopefully your passions inspire you, right? So it all kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, totally. And it's not the same for everyone. Like if me watching an inspirational video, it might not be the same. You could, maybe a walk in nature by yourself is something that inspires you, or like listening to stand-up comedy, just laughing for like 20 minutes. It's different for everyone, so don't think that you're weird.
Yeah, explore what works for you.
Yeah.
And if that segues us into our 5th tip, if you're not really aware of these things, this is a great time for you to identify your goals and your values. So if you're feeling like, okay, I don't know where to start with journaling, I don't know how I seek inspiration best, maybe it's a great opportunity. This could be a great opportunity for you to start journaling and focusing on back to the basics. Okay, what are my values? What are my goals? That's it. Just start there. And I promise you, it's so much harder than it sounds, because then you start to actually make a list. And I know that for me at the beginning, if somebody were to ask me like, what do you actually want? I'd be like, I don't know. I have all these ideas and I think I know what I want. I want this. But it wasn't until I actually made an active and like intentional choice to write down my goals and my values and what my personal mission was. And this is something that Ella and I practice, is we revisit these like, I think like at least once a month, if not like weekly. So it doesn't have to be like a goal that's, I'm going to set one goal and it's a 5-year goal, like revisit it. Like we're human beings, like embrace your humanness. They're going to change. I used to think that was like a flaw that I had. I was like, I'm just always I get so passionate, and then I change to the next thing. And it would like, it kind of got to me. I would be like, oh, I can't stick with one thing. And like, that's totally fine. Your goals are going to change as you grow, and your values are going to change. So it would be a fun exercise to start with where you're at now and see where they're at, and see if there's room or if there's things that you want to expand on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And the last thing is follow the things that excite you most. I think we covered this in a couple of the other points, but it's just so important. There's things that you are excited about, and even if you're not consciously, it's not coming to you right now, inside of your heart what that is. There could be something that you see and you're like, oh, I want to do that. Or like you're watching a show and you're like, these people are cool, like their lifestyle is cool. Or people that you follow on Instagram that you just like you aspire to. It could be anything from a different lifestyle or different hobbies. It could be their characteristics that you love, like this person's so kind and generous, like anything that makes you feel excited, follow it. Think about it. How could you bring more of that into your life? How can that be more a part of you?
And I think oftentimes it manifests differently. And I remember hearing this once. I'm going to share it with you guys. Listen to your body and your soul when you're jealous. I know it sounds a little like out there, but honestly, what is jealousy? There's something that somebody has, or something that someone's doing that you probably want, right? So don't look at it as like, oh, it's terrible for me to be jealous or to be this. Like every emotion has its place. Look at it as a source of inspiration. Like, damn, I wish I had that. Okay, now how can I get that?
Yeah.
Or I'm inspired by that person. Like, it's okay. We all feel these emotions. Like, we want to remember and like constantly reiterate that like our humanness is like, lean into it. Like, don't think that this needs to be perfect or there's one way to do it. Like, we're just constantly here to remind you that. So
yeah. And the one other thing I love to say is, if there's something you feel embarrassed about, that's something that excites you.
100%.
Like when I was
lean
a kid,
into it.
I was really embarrassed about like wanting to like make people laugh and being funny and stuff, or like, I felt embarrassed about it. But now I'm like, no, that's just who I was. Like, or if it's like I used to dress up like a clown when I was a kid.
Oh my gosh, this story.
My sisters would be getting ready to like go to a wedding and I'd come out in my clown costume. But it was so silly. And of course they were like, you're the most embarrassing person. So of course I started to like stuff that down. But now looking back, I'm like, I just wanted to make people laugh. And that's such a big part of who I am now. Like, or like if, like jumping out of a plane, you're like, I feel embarrassed about saying that out loud. Like, what are people going to think about me? Those are the things that make you feel excited. So lean into those things.
Yeah. So this pretty much, we just wanted to like really kind of hone in and expand on what self-discovery is, like what our definition has been, and the sort of things that we're going to continue to explore on this podcast and get you guys up to speed. And that's our tips for today. We hope you guys enjoyed that, whether it was, a story Ella mentioned or a point that we came across. Let us know. You can find us over on Instagram at gwtf.club. Feel free to leave a review. Let us know what resonates with you guys. If there's anything you'd love to hear more. If there is anything that comes to mind. We love chatting with you guys, and we're really excited to bring you new episodes every week.
Yay! Okay, see you guys later.
See you in the next episode.
Bye.